Welcome to B.A. Showoff, the Dance Lifestyle Podcast. I'm Becky Sanalo.
And I'm Alexandra Sanalo. And today we're going to be interviewing the Dani Solano. So Dani, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you've done in the dance industry?
Yes, I was born and raised in Miami. Lived here my whole life besides going to FSU for 4 years. I've been a dance team girly since I was in middle school. I continued through high school. I continued for some of college. And then after FSU, I moved back to Miami. And I worked with a bunch of dance teams and local studios. And after that, I decided to pursue my own industry dance career. And I've lived my dreams traveling all over the world, dancing on different shows, dancing for different artists. And I've kind of retired my industry dancing shoes, and now I'm back with working with dance teams and studios and consulting dance teams for competitions.
So you didn't originally study dance. What made you change from when you graduated from college to pursue this dance career?
Well, it's always been my passion, but I guess because I felt like I could train and use my talents in other ways, I wanted to use school for a different route, almost like a safety net. So I graduated with a bachelor's in science for marketing. And when I came back to Miami, I did get a job that was related to my field because that's like the natural trajectory of what you do. But I just had an itch that I was still young, still youthful. I had it in me. And I tried to balance both for a little bit, but eventually I just had to admit to myself that I wanted to fully commit and try to live out my dreams and see where it took me and know that I could always fall back on my degree or I could always change my mind later. But now when my body is able was the time to do that for myself.
So what do you feel has consistently brought you back to the dance team industry? Because you've experienced so many different outlets in dance. You've done the commercial world, the studio world, dance team world. What has brought you back to dance team?
There is nothing like it. I don't even know if I could explain what it is that brings me back. Even the feeling of like putting in the work and getting to competition and getting the results and then already thinking about what's going to happen next year. Like what songs do we choose? What direction are we going to go? I think what's always brought me back to dance team is just the unique process that it takes to get from creating an original routine and everything that it goes through to get to the competition stage, the various competitions that go, from working with the both of you. It could be one dance when it starts to be choreographed, and then it could be one dance at one competition, and then it could be a completely different dance. Like there's just so much variety and change and a level of potential that choreography can reach before you finally get to your big nationals or your final competition, that being a part of the process, the changes, the formations, the staging, the visuals, the dynamics, all of that just always brings me back because I love to see the final product and I love to be a part of the process.
And it's so interesting because when you work with studios, you're working with 10, 11, 12 dances at a time. But when you are in dance team, you're working with 2 for each team.
Yeah, sometimes 3. A lot of categories have started to open up. So if the competition allows, you can do as many as you can or whatever they allow you to do. And I think the difference too is like in studios, one, you can have a different range of people on the stage. Of course, there's small varsity, large varsity. There's different levels and components when it comes to dance team, but there's solos, there's duets, there's small groups, and there's people entering and exiting the stage. I think that's a main thing that differs from studio or even from industry stuff is like everybody has to be on stage for the entirety of the performance, and that's a challenge in itself to not be able to use that visually, to not be able to have certain visuals or dynamics of strong groups or a variety of different styles that people can give. Everybody has to be on stage the whole time, and you have to make that harmony of different styles and different textures and different dynamics all with one group at one time. So I think that's very unique to dance team and difficult to execute at times, but something that I love to see, having everybody be on stage and never leave from the beginning of the dance to the end.
And let me ask you, studio world and dance team world have kind of come together. Many years ago, it was like, you thought of dance team and you thought that they were drill and, was very robotic looking, very linear. The studio world, I think that, it had its style, but dances were a little bit more messy on stage, the in and out, it wasn't as clean. But there's like this combo now, they come together. What do you see when it comes to the studio and dance team world?
Well, I definitely see a crossover of even choreographers that are used. I think choreographers in the industry that maybe would have never thought that they would have tapped into that world are starting to see the change and see the growth and see the evolution of Dance Team. And I feel like both worlds can benefit from using the strengths of each other. So I feel like I've seen a bunch of studio work that, yeah, sometimes would be messy or just certain details wouldn't be paid attention to because it wasn't really the things that were adjudicated or it wasn't as much of a priority. You can still deliver a message or show a piece of art with having everybody be synchronized, how Dance Team is. And I feel like back in the day, Dance Team was also very much known as Drill Team, and that had a lot to do with the slaps and the sharpness and the dynamics and not really having like curves and flows and movements and breath in the choreography as much. So I feel like the Dance Team world has benefited from the artistry of the competition world, and the competition world has benefited from the structure of the Dance Team world. Yeah. And now they both kind of are thriving in their own place. They're two very separate things, but they marry each other very well.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. You were part of Dance Team when Dance Team was more drill. And our first episode, I talked a little bit about our first national championship and what that was like. So you were part of that process of going through that with me of getting that second place over and over.
Tap into my heartstrings. Oh, if we didn't get it when I left my senior year, I was going to, I don't know, hold myself back a grade and make sure that I ended up getting a white jacket through high school. So yeah, we had, years of getting really close, and I think just not finding our structure and our formula that was going to help enhance the legacy that Coral Reef has had so far. We had a lot of slaps. We had a lot of ha's.
Yes. A lot.
Silent ha's, loud ha's. Like,
a lot of breaths.
Yeah, a lot of breaths. That was like what helped keep us in sync and feel each other's energy and stuff like that. And yeah, it was definitely more, I don't want to use the word cookie cutter, but I guess we didn't realize how out of the box we really could have taken it. And that's why I love to be a part of it too, because in addition to just being a part of 1 year's growth of like picking the song and starting the first formation and competing it on stage, it's been beautiful to see different programs elevate over time and see the different dancers that come into the program. We've had years of a bunch of boys. We've had years of one boy. We've had years of just a variety of movers. And again, as dance has elevated in studio across the board, those movers have now prioritized Dance Team more, and we're getting just a really cool vibe and variety of dynamics that different dancers can bring. And I think it's really helped evolve the movement, and it's been a challenge to get abstract movement to be synchronized. But I think we've done pretty good.
Yeah. No, I think we've done great. I mean, it's you were part of the process. You were there from the beginning, and you've been there all through it. I mean, you've been by my side, watching us get first and then struggle and then our second places for many years and then get our first national championship, the second one. So the journey's been so amazing. And I think that people don't understand that love or that obsession that people have with Dance Team and why they have it. So tell me a little bit about your connection with Dance Team.
I mean, before I talk about my connection with Dance Team, I want to tap into the fact that through the years, we have seen people who have no idea this is their first time that they've ever experienced it, whatever, and they are obsessed too. And they're like, I have never seen anything like this. I want to come back next year. All of a sudden, it opens up Pandora's box, and they're like, okay, I'm into this world. It's almost like watching a stream show that somebody suggests or something that you just click on online, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, have you seen this show? Okay, no, you have to watch. Then the friend comes back to you and they're like, oh my God, I watched the show. What episode are you on? That's kind of what Dance Team, I think, can bring to people. Maybe not everybody, but we've had our fair share of people being like, I'm in it now. I'm fully invested. Going back to my history, I actually got to middle school in 6th grade, and one of my friends that was with me in elementary school was on the dance team, and I was like, oh my God, how did you do that? And she's like, girl, they had tryouts in the summer. But not a lot of internet, not a lot of, I must have missed the memo when they talked about trying out for middle school dance team. So in 6th grade, I didn't. But then once I was part of the school, I tried out in 7th grade and I made the team. And then ironically in 8th grade, I didn't care to do it. So I only did dance team for my 7th grade year. 8th grade, I was still like in the advanced dance class that had the dance team dancers, but I didn't compete with them. And then actually for high school, Being from Miami, there's two main magnet schools. One of them is called New World and one of them is Coral Reef. One of them, New World, is kind of more concert. If you're thinking to join some sort of modern company or ballet company, that's a trajectory with great teachers and great faculty to lead you there. And Coral Reef also has a magnet program. We do Nutcracker. We do a bunch of other shows, but there's a little bit more of a high school experience as far as football games, cheerleaders, pep rallies, just the overall energy is a little bit different. And I was sure that I was going to go to New World. And the last day to decide for Coral Reef, I just changed my mind impulsively. And I thought, no, I want a high school experience.
Best decision you've ever made?
No regrets. Absolutely no regrets. So that's when I kind of was like, maybe I'm not done here. Maybe my little taste, my little charcuterie board, my little sampler was not enough. It was missing a couple of things. So I decided in 9th grade to try out for dance team, also because my mentor, Kristen Liu, shout out. She also is a Coral Reef alumni. And I kind of was able to see through the vines and stuff like, okay, that looks kind of cool. I think I want to follow in her footsteps. And I chose to do it in 9th grade. And, you know, it grabbed a chokehold of me for the next 4 years. And then years beyond in college, I also wanted to pursue.
And it's funny, you were talking a little bit about the high school experience and what that was all about. And that's something that I talk about all the time when people ask me about dance team, is when you come to Coral Reef or when you're part of dance team, that high school experience makes all the difference in the world. I mean, you know, if you want to study to be a dancer, you still get to do that and you still get to pursue your career in dance. But those moments of like homecoming and pep rallies and the football games, and that's what makes your high school. So I think it's such an important part, and I think that dance team is such a critical part of experiencing that high school life. So, and then this took you from there, it took you to college, and then you continued your dance team career there.
I did. I have to give a shout out to Ricky Ruiz, who is one of my childhood dance friends. Not going to go back so many years because I probably can't even do the math, but we've known each other for a really long time. He was an alumni of Coral Reef. My freshman year was the first year that he started choreographing for Coral Reef. And then through that, he made his way to FSU and was choreographing for them around the time that I was graduating. And my sister also was enrolled at FSU, so I naturally was going to be a Seminole. That was my trajectory. But even more alignment with my high school dance team choreographer being the choreographer for the college that I want to go to. So that also led me to do that. And just, again, maybe only getting one white jacket or feeling like the experience of UDA was not over and knowing that I could continue that into college for at least 4 more years was something that I was interested in doing. So I tried out for Golden Girls my freshman year. I got on the team. Again, a whirlwind, kind of just like getting accustomed to the difference of college. It is similar that it's like the same umbrella of competition, but there is definitely a huge difference between high school and college. So I did it my freshman year. My sophomore year, I was on the team and also choreographing the routine with 2 of my teammates and also trying to go to college and get an education and have fun and be social. And by my sophomore year, I was just like, okay, I think
It's a lot.
Yeah, I think we've done what we've done. I think I need to focus a little bit more in my upperclassmen years. I think 6 years of doing competitive dance team was enough for me to feel like fulfilled. And my junior year, I wasn't on the team, but I still choreographed with my 2 teammates that were on the team for Golden Girls, and we got 3rd place that year in jazz. So exciting. And then my senior year, I was just like, okay, I will love you guys from afar.
So I've had a lot of students in the past that have wanted to move on and do dance team in college, but then there's always been that fear of the commitment and am I going to miss out on so many college experiences because, you know, game days, I'll be at game days, can't go to tailgates, can't do all those things. How did you combat that and how did you make that decision? Because I'm sure that was a fear of yours too at one point.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I kind of ended up getting the best of both worlds with the decision that I made for myself. So I think that's my piece of advice is it's unique to the person and you're going to have FOMO either way. You're going to have FOMO if you choose not to be on the dance team and you don't get to have that whole experience of like the bonding with the team and going to competition and getting the results you want. And even if you don't want the experience you walk away from building a bond with your coach, dancing for the school, like all of those are major. And then if you're on the team and you don't have the free time to be able to be social, you miss out on that too. So I think it just depends on the person. It's choosing what's right for you at the present moment. And if you feel like it is for you to be social and you feel like you can walk away from choosing to continue your dance career, then it's a choice that you have to live with and know that that's the right choice that you made for you. And on the other side, you may have missed something out, but you live with what you got.
Yeah. It's like being an athlete. I mean, you make the choice of, I'm going to be on a team, and you commit and you do everything possible to be the best you can on that team. So I think that being part of your college dance team, number one, it automatically gives you friends. Like you started that school, especially if it's a school that you don't know a lot of people and you're going away somewhere, you automatically have a group of friends. You're part of a group. And so that's a great thing to already have that. And as a parent, knowing my kid is already part of something and they're taken care of and they're with friends, it's just like that sense of relief that, okay, I don't have to worry so much. So I think that it's a great kind of like bridge between going from high school into college, that you have something that you're comfortable with and you've been a part of, and it's just part of your body, and you just keep going from there. And I think the way you did it was great. And then you tried it for a while, you did it, and then you decided, okay, I got enough of that, and now I got a little bit of both.
And it was crazy because I had a couple of my immediate, like, closest friends on the team with me that were kind of in the same boat as me. Like, it was a lot. Do we want to keep doing it? Blah, blah, blah. And by the time it came to tryouts, I was the lone wolf who decided not to try out. Everyone else kind of was just like, no, I don't think I can let it go. And they showed up to tryouts that day. And I still went to the tryouts, but I went in regular clothes and everyone looked at me like, she's really not doing it. And I was like, yeah, because the decision wasn't really based off of my friends. Like, sure, there was conversations about it and there was influence, but at the end of the day, I had to like quiet my mind and say, if I'm doing this for my friends, at the end of the day, it's still what I have to go through or what I have to sacrifice or not. So they were kind of in the decision. They helped with the decision or helped with not making the decision. They had input, but finally, when it came down to it, I was like, what do I want? What do I think? How do I picture my year working out? Because I can't control everybody's life. So I was the one who ended up really sticking to my guns and not trying out. And I don't regret it. I was still able to help with the team my junior year, and my senior year still had a great relationship with the coach. Love Wendy Crawford. I still have a group chat with my friends, and it didn't take away anything else by just not doing the team my last 2 years.
And that's the cool thing about dance team, is that you do make those connections, you make those friendships that they last forever. And you have such great memories. I mean, you get together with your friends and you're like endless amount of memories that you could talk about and experiences. That dance team, people think it's just getting in the studio, dancing, competing, and walking away. But there's so much more that comes with...
You spend so much time with these people. Yeah. You really develop relationships that last a long time. Like, I have my 20-year reunion in a couple years, and I'm still very close friends with not majority of my team, because we've all branched off and done other things, but I've got a core group of friends that I still keep in touch with, say happy birthday when they're in town, we meet up. And yeah, it's not just you get in the studio and you tune everything out and you warm up and you get in the dance and you leave, and you don't have conversations or memories, or you don't get to know people's personalities. You spend so much time with these people that you build that bond. Yeah, and it lasts a lifetime.
And even people who you would have never been friends with otherwise, like you really would have never connected, you find that you do have, a connection, you do have bonds with them, and it's just, it's such a great experience. And I think that you guys group, like you had a very, very unique group of friends, and the four of you guys went on with dance. I mean, you all did something completely different with dance, but you all pursued dance, and that's just so cool. That and everybody lives somewhere completely different, but you guys all come back together, and it's a nice friendship that you guys have had.
The Fantastic Four, my friends for life.
Yeah.
How has being a part of dance team affected your dance career?
Well, I mean, for one, having technical training and starting dance as young as I did, I always tell dancers, like, the more versatile you are, the more options and opportunities you have. The more you choose, even if you don't fully commit and train vigorously in that style, just introducing yourself to different styles and having a little bit of awareness can open up doors for you that you would be limited by if you only focused on one thing. So I will say, In the industry, am I always doing alisacones? Am I doing calypsos and stuff? No, but you never know if you get a commercial offer or something and they need technical trained dancers or they need different things. So just having all those tools under your belt is very helpful. And I think being on dance team, the attention to detail that's required, you have to be a smart dancer and you have to be an aware dancer. And I've learned through my experience in the industry, sure, even being from Miami specifically, it's a lot about the look. It's a lot about the image. It's a lot about, the cookie cutter box of what you would think is required to be a dancer. But being a smart dancer in the room and being an aware dancer will open more doors or will continue to open those doors. I've been on certain jobs where dancers may have the highest energy or be the hottest looking ones, but if they don't have the right mindset, if they're not professional, if they're not aware of their surroundings, that job can be the last one. I've done certain jobs where I've built a relationship with certain choreographers that come out of town from Miami that aren't even local and continued to maintain relationships with them or gotten other jobs or other opportunities because they saw in the rehearsal, okay, this girl gets it. Okay, this girl's smart. Okay, this girl can help me. Okay, she's paying attention. She knows her spots. She can reverse the choreography. So all of that I learned from being on dance team. When we have to make a spur of the moment decision, it can't be panic or worry or not know what you're going to do. You have to be very level-headed and you have to be impulsive and be able to switch up on a dime. And I think just not having those type of emotions or those things overwhelm me because I've been in really pressure situations where we've had to pull up and figure it out. I've been able to adapt that in different areas of my dance career, and it's definitely, allowed me to level up over time.
So definitely I think that you touched upon the fact that the training is important, that as a young kid you're training in the studio and that the technique is important. The details that you learn in dance team, the cleanliness, all that stuff, it comes together. And some people fear dance team because they worry that they're going to lose their style and they're going to lose that side of it. And I try to explain to them that you're never going to hurt from training more. You're never going to become a bad dancer because you're on a dance team. If anything, it's going to help you in the long run, and it's going to get you to be a better dancer, be a cleaner dancer. So when studios or when dance teachers, that old school thinking, what would you tell them if they tell you, well, I don't want my dancers to be on dance team?
Well, first, I think that's selfish. I think mainly the reason for that is because dance team has also grown. The level of commitment has grown. I think also in a social aspect, we didn't have social media for Kudettes
at all.
Instagram, none of that stuff existed. So there's more bondings, there's more volunteer work, there's more potential to hang out and be a part of your team more off the stage and out of rehearsal. And I think the time commitment is something that studios also have a problem with. But at the end of the day, I agree with you. I think that kids will only get stronger or benefit from both. So I think the people that end up living in harmony are the studio owners and dance teams who communicate with each other, who try to match the schedules a little bit better, who make sacrifices for each other and understand, that both require a lot, and it's just one kid and it's one parent. If we're talking high school and stuff, maybe there's a little bit more responsibility or a little bit more independence, but with middle school and elementary school kids who are on a dance team and also go to a studio, they're not in charge. Their parents also have lives. They also have siblings. So I think it's just understanding that even though your studio may be your baby and your business, it's not everybody else's. And to be more flexible and to be more understanding and to adapt with what everybody's going on is the way you keep everybody happy. You make people want to stay. You make people want to come back. And I think just expanding your mind beyond what it is that you need or you want is a way that everybody can kind of just work in harmony and succeed in different ways. And yeah, at the end of the day, it is making everybody stronger. It is building more than just committing to one thing. So I think that for the studio owners who may be a little bit old school minded, give kids a shot. Let them learn responsibilities. Let them learn how to manage their time and how to communicate when something can't happen or they have a conflict. I think all of those things, in addition to being a better dancer, so many life lessons are learned in the time of being on dance team or at studio or even, sports dance teams and stuff. There's so much that you can learn and grow by not limiting yourself. And maybe after a year of doing studio and dance team, you're like, you know what? It was a lot for me this year. That happened my 8th grade year. I was in my studio doing 13, 14 dances in recital, and it was my first year. That's what it was, my first year being on Coudettes. And it was just a lot. And I made a choice to step away from my studio, not because my studio had pressured me, but it was just, again, even going back to auditioning for, or not auditioning for a dance team my 3rd year in college, it's a personal choice. And you have to let people make the right choices for them. And even not having an ego or like faulting somebody or getting upset, you can maintain relationships even when people leave you. Even if someone's choosing not to be at your studio or not to dance on your dance team, if it's handled with care, you can still, continue the relationship that you built. And I think that's more important and that's more life lasting than the time that you were on a team or the time that you were in a studio.
And I think I put it out there to studio owners to go to UDA, go to competition and see what it's like and get that feel so you can understand why these kids choose to be on dance team. Because really, when you were on dance team, here in Miami, we didn't have that many schools with dance teams. There was maybe 4 or 5 schools that had a dance team. And now there isn't a single high school that doesn't have a dance team. Everybody has a dance team. And the kids want to be a part of their school dance team because, again, we go back to being involved in your school and that school spirit. So I put it out there to the studio owners. If you don't know what it's about, go see it. And you'll understand, because that feeling that you get when you're at UDA and parents when they go for the first time and they experience that, and it's not just that you're competing, everybody's there cheering for you. Even other teams, I mean, everybody's there. Clearly everybody wants to win, but they all appreciate when you come on the dance floor, and they all appreciate that the hard work that's put into it, and they tell you good luck and they applaud, and parents are watching each other and stuff. So I think that it's a special and very unique experience that kids should have the opportunity to be a part of if they can.
Perhaps that's why it's called school spirit and not studio spirit.
Well, and exactly, I think that that's something that studio owners a lot of times will put that decision on kids and say you have to choose. And that a lot of times these kids are 13 years old. They can't make these kind of decisions and they don't really know. And a lot of times they will end up choosing dance team because they become a part of their school. They become a part of the spirit, the school pride, and it makes things a little easier for them. So I think that that's probably part of the resentment that a lot of studio owners have is if they end up giving them the choice, they're going to end up choosing dance team. And most dance team coaches don't want that. They don't want to take their kids away from the studio owners. We want our kids to continue taking technique classes, taking outside classes, going and learning from different teachers, because that's what makes the kids grow. And at the end of the day, that's what we all want. We want the kids to grow. We want them to be better in all aspects, have that versatility that you talked about earlier. And I think that that's a big miscommunication between dance team coaches and studio owners.
I also see a lot of studios have taken up dance team things. So like that team bonding, even calling their companies, their groups, they call them teams now. So they've adjusted, and I think that they do understand the importance of that team and what that team means. And they've done things like little bondings, give them gifts before they go to competition.
Yeah, they take what they like.
And it works. So I think that if they would open the door to, okay, let me see what this dance team world really is about, I think that they would they buy into it as well, and they would understand why the kids want to be a part of it. And then when you communicate with the dance coaches and you find a way of making it work, which many studios do. I mean, I speak to a lot of the studio owners, and they'll message me and say, hey, listen, I have this going on. I really need this dancer here. And, I send my schedule to them, or the dancers give them the schedule, so that we try to work together. Everybody's happy. At the end of the day, yeah, there might be a day that there's conflict, but when you sit there and you try to work it together, the kids are
Everybody
happy.
wins.
And that's what you want. You want to keep the kids happy. You want the parents happy. You don't want the parents to have the stress of, oh my gosh, they're going to get mad at me, or oh my God, I have to go over here. You want your clients to be happy.
I literally was going to say, these are people that are paying for this, who are feeling the pressure. Like, I'm paying you, but I feel the pressure.
Yeah.
So I think it should be just, again, you don't want to lose the clients either. And again, in dance, it's kind of like weird or hard to call it clients, because it's so much more than that when it's like just art and other things that are invested. But at the end of the day, coming from a business standpoint of a studio, being that it's not the same as a school, they are your clients. And if you create that tension or that rift because you want what you want, that's fine, but you're just going to lose clients, or you're going to lose students, like Alexandra said, to the dance team world, because they don't feel the same pressure, or they know on the other side of that, they still get to see their friends, they still get to be around kids from other studios. That's another huge thing that I've seen through the years of working with teams, is where it could be a little bit tense in the competition world of studios. All those kids that go to different studios gel and are friends when it comes to being on a dance team. There's no snickery comments about like, oh, well, you go here, this, and that. All that studio stuff is removed, and there's a friendship involved. And then those kids go to competition with their studio, and they're best friends. They run and hug each other because they already have that bond from being on a dance team. So that's also something that you have to think about when it comes to the kids.
Yeah, I remember when you were on dance team, your Fantastic Four, all four of you went to different studios.
Literally, 4 of like the different main studios that competed against each other all the years.
Yeah, and you guys, I remember going to jump with you guys, and you guys cheering for each other, and that was not known back then. Like, that was not something that happened. Like, the studio owners didn't encourage kids to cheer for you, and why would you? You weren't really friends, but because dance team made you friends, every time one of you would come on the stage, the other 3 would be there cheering and excited.
You can't turn that on and turn that off.
You can't. It's part of you. It becomes just natural. And that's one thing that I love about dance team, is that that you're there to protect each other, and you're there to support each other no matter what.
You're a family.
And on a daily basis. And that friendship, it's a special, unique friendship. And in a studio, sometimes they it's not that they do it on purpose, but because the kids are such soloists, there's that jealousy that happens, because it's the dance world, and we have to accept the fact that that's just how it is in dance. You get jealous because that person's always in the front, that person has 2 solos, they always win, and dance team is not about the soloist. It doesn't matter how great you are on your own. If everybody in the team doesn't look good, it's not going to happen. So I just think it's a very different philosophy, and it brings out the best in the kids rather than bringing out that little snickering and that little like jealousy. Dance team doesn't do that.
Well, and I think that in both studio and dance team, there's benefits, because I think in teaching kids how to be a soloist, it teaches them how to perform, how to stand out, how to have those unique qualities that are going to make them a show-off. But then on dance team, it teaches them unity. It teaches them how to dance together. It teaches the versatility. And with these studios, they give them the opportunity to shine, but it's true, it does cause that little bit of animosity between kids sometimes, because then it's, I want to do this private, I want to do this, I want this solo, I want this,
hiring this choreographer.
Right. And it gives a little bit more of that animosity. But at the same time, we need these kids to have that versatility. And we need the kids to be able to choose what they want to do in the future, because that's really our main goal. At the end of the day, we want to see the studio owners and the coaches, we want to see these kids move on and continue dancing. We don't want them to stop after high school. So give them the opportunity to choose and figure out, what outlet do I want to take? Do I want to go the commercial route? Do I want to go to continue and dance with a studio and be a teacher? Do I want to do dance team in college? Do I want to do a company? We need to give them the opportunity to branch out and figure out what it is that they want to do, because ultimately we all have the same goal. We want them to keep dancing.
And Dani, you've been really versatile, and you've done it all. Like, you have done the commercial world, you did the dance team, you were on college dance team. You judged, so you've been a judge as well. So you've done a little bit of everything.
The only thing I didn't do was sports dance team.
I mean, you kind of did.
Yeah. Well, I've worked with
them.
I've worked with the Dolphins. I've worked with the Heat. I've worked with the Marlins. I've worked with the Panthers. I've either choreographed or somehow, dabbled in them. But people always ask me, oh my God, why did you ever try over the Heat? Just the years that I felt like I would have done it were the years that I was at FSU.
Yeah.
And by the time I came back, I feel like I would have done it like right out of high school for 3 or 4 years. And I chose to go away. So when I came back, I wasn't like, oh, this is the thing that I want to do. I want to try out for the Heat. Not that I felt that I was too old. I mean, there's been a range of ages that you could be on it. But again, in my own personal journey and trajectory, that was the window that I would have done it.
And when
I
you
went to
graduated
FSU.
from college, you weren't focused on that.
Right.
Like you were your degree, you were in that, so it was a little different for you. But
How crazy I thought I wasn't going to dance after college. Not like literally, but I was just like, oh, regular job, regular life. Yeah.
Isn't that how it usually
yeah,
goes?
like this is what's supposed to happen, right? And then I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
I'm in Miami.
You realize you miss it,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, no, that's what I really want.
No, my mom will tell you the amount of limiting beliefs I had about being too old at like 22, 24. My mom was like, you are not too old. I just feel like sometimes dance years can be like dog years. That they kind of like, you know, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm 25, and you feel like you're 45 when someone is coming in at 18 or 17, or even like prodigy kids that are like, oh, I did my first commercial, I did whatever at 14, 15 years old. I'm like, okay, so 25, 10 years later, I am ready to retire.
Yeah.
And ironically, I had like the most iconic times of my career within the past 2 years at like 32, 33. So know that too. There's no limit for how old or young
you think there
you
is,
can be.
you know, because you start with a little pain and you're like, oh, I can't really kick my leg the same way. But it's not about that. There's so much you can do in dance, in your dance career, that it's not limited to age.
Right.
So you definitely could keep doing it for a long time. If you had a dancer right now come to you and ask you for advice, I want to pursue dance. I want to, have a dance career, but I also want to go to college. Do you recommend that I just jump into dance, or do you recommend that I go to college?
Well, again, the world is ever changing. There's more options. There's more resources. Perhaps something to look into is pursuing the dance career. I have a bunch of younger dance friends in the industry that are going to college simultaneously while having a whole career. I have friends that are in Las Vegas doing a residency and making sure that they submit homework on time. It's definitely tough. It is a commitment, and you have to have discipline, and you have to have your ducks in a row. But I think now there's the opportunity to not really have to choose. You could kind of choose both. Back when they didn't have virtual schooling or remote schooling, you kind of had to be there in person, and you can't be two places at once. So you would have to choose, okay, am I going to commit to going to school? Am I just going to get my AA? Am I going to go 4 years? Or am I going to put school later because I know that it's not physical and it's just my mind, and these are the years that I really want to dance right now? I would suggest maybe looking into a way to be able to do both depending on the type of person you are. I think my inclination is to say to dance first. I think that school can always be there. And I think that even though the normal route is to do school in 4 years, you can take your time. Mm-hmm. You can complete different courses, and you can do certain semesters. And if you're like, I just booked up my first, tour, and it's all over Europe, and it's 11 weeks, this really isn't the semester to go to school. And you already did a little bit. I don't really know how it works with like how much time you can wait in between. But I know there's times that people have just been like, okay, this is going to pause because this is a huge opportunity for me that I need to be in real time focus. I can't be in different time zones and taking tests and submitting homework. So I think that there's more ways to be able to do both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you definitely could be versatile, and definitely the online schooling helps so much. But there's certain opportunities that are passed up to you, and if you say no, it's not going to come back.
Yeah.
And so you really got to sit down, and like you were saying before, it's a personal choice. But you really got to sit down and be like, okay, well, do I do this that may never come my way? Or do I, because I've been told I have to finish school, school
Right. You
first.
weigh the options, and you maybe give yourself some sort of timeline. Okay, I'm going to pursue the industry, and if I don't book blah, blah, blah within X amount of time, then I'm going to reroute, and I'm going to go back to school for a little bit, and I'm going to try again, or see if where I'm going in school, I get an opportunity right away. Luckily, there's no one-way street. And, I want to say Oprah was 40 something when she started her stuff. Dr. Phil, there's all these like statistics about when people made it big, and some of them are in their 40s and their 50s. And when we're younger, we feel like we have to have it figured out, and time is only moving fast, and this and that. But at the end of the day, you can change your mind whenever, so long as you have the inspired action to pursue whatever it is that you want to do. I can say tomorrow that I want to be a chef, and decide to go to culinary school and have a whole career, open up a bakery, do all this stuff. And it happened in my mid-30s.
And I would hire you.
As long as you bring us whatever you cook.
I used to throw down with those funfetti cupcakes.
As long as you bring us whatever you cook.
Yeah.
Well, I think that yeah, you're very unique in the fact that you have a little bit of everything, and I think that you know, you've come back and not just worked with my team, and you've been my right hand person with Courettes for so many years. You know almost every single Courette that's been on the team,
Literally.
But you also have been so great in working with all the teams in Miami. As more and more teams have started here, you've been great, and you've been able to work with other teams and help them consulting, choreographing, and all that stuff. So one of the things, coaches that are out there, if they're looking for help or they're trying to get somebody to come in and work with them, what would you tell them, and what can you offer them?
I would say, hey, I'm available. No, I would say what I've learned from kind of pivoting. I do choreograph for dance teams every now and then. I'm a little bit choosy just because it's not my wheelhouse anymore. Even from the years that I removed myself and, you know, was able to commit enough with Courettes and Lords and stuff, my industry career took me away from dance team at a time that it evolved. And I choreographed for a bunch of teams for maybe like a decade, then chose to have my industry career. And when I came back, just the same passion, a little bit burnt out, a little bit overwhelmed. Like, choreography is not my zone of genius anymore. But from my years of being involved in dance team, I know what's required in the process to make dances reach their full potential or to elevate routines. So to not have the pressure of picking music and formations and all that stuff and being able to just go in to watch a dance team fresh and just give them my 2 cents from my years of experience. I love being able to alleviate the stress from coaches. Like, there's times where I come in and I'm like, oh, what if they blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh my God, thank you.
Oh, I know.
That's why you're here.
I know from
we
experience.
We didn't even see that. Like, the fresh eye energy of somebody who's been watching the same thing. Oh, it's like doing a word search. Like, you could be looking for that one word that you haven't found, and then you go hands it off to somebody, and they're like, oh, it's right there. And you're like, I've been staring at this for 30 minutes, and I couldn't figure it out.
And I know from experience, there's been times where I brought you in, and it's not even a drastic change. It's something as simple as, well, instead of doing this, why don't you just do an arm here? And it's like, how did I not think of that?
Yeah.
And it's just the smallest thing.
It's being engulfed in your own situation and being able to bring in somebody with the right experience and expertise to come in with a fresh eye and just see things that you haven't seen and be able to give you the solutions to change it. Because I could very much say, oh, that part right there, no, it's not it. And you're like, right, so what do we do? So,
and I think something really cool about you, Dani, that you know every single song, every single word to every single song. You know what it means. You know what the next. So when you're watching the routine, because you were so aware of the musicality part of it, which everybody isn't. I mean,
shout out to tap. Going back to versatility. Well, my dad is a musician too, so that helped me in my childhood. But having a tap background, I will say, is like the pivotal reason why musicality is my zone of genius in that sense. And yeah, maybe karaoke. Like, is that why I know all the words?
All the words.
Yeah. Hire Dani for your future tap dance.
It really is crazy. Like any song we play, and she's like, oh, like the first beat, like crazy how you know these songs.
Yeah, a lot of choreography, a lot of picking music, a lot of going through music, a lot of combos, a lot of.
And that I think that helps a lot when you're coming to clean a routine or you're coming to like help out, because you understand the musicality and the words and what's coming up and what the song means. You're able to fix the dance and you're able to fix those little moments because you know those little beats. So I think that that's something really cool. And I think as coaches, we sometimes overlook that because we're worried about so many other things that we don't catch on to that musicality part of it. And bringing somebody like you in makes all the difference in the world. At least for me, it does.
Oh, it definitely for me too. And being able to have that fresh eye, like you said. And I don't think I've ever had a student that didn't mesh well with you. Like you have a lot of attention to the kids too. You know, you like to get to know them. You like to know who they are. And
you remember all their names.
You remember their names, and that, believe it or not, that sticks with them. And you create that connection with them too. And I know with my kids, whenever I'm like, okay, so Dani's coming in, they're like, oh, thank God. We can't wait. We're so excited.
That's what I'm here for. That's literally it. Like, aside from the process and watching a dance grow over time, to have the kids feel better and have the coaches feel better when I show up or when I leave, either right when I get there that they're like, hallelujah, or when I leave, they're like, you have no idea how much like this 3-hour rehearsal really like helped us. Either we're bringing you back again, or even that was like, this is what we needed. Now we can move forward from here. That is so fulfilling to me, even more, again, because times have changed for me, than like seeing my body of work on stage. Just because creating is not my passion anymore. Choreographing is something that I did, but not something that I'm like really focused on committing and continuing from here on out. But the consulting part of it and just being able to help, inspire, give suggestions, support, solutions, all of that at the end of the day is like what really lights me up inside.
So I know you're not really doing dance team choreography anymore, but how do you feel that in being a choreographer, that being a dance team choreographer at a point in your life has made you a better choreographer in the end?
Oh, attention to detail. Being able to premeditate certain things that are going to happen. If there's one thing that I learned from being on dance team, it was the amount of options or potential things that, okay, on this part, we could either do this, so when I choreograph, whether it's for dance team or whether it's for industry stuff, I'm like version A, version B. If the camera's here, if it's a tight shot, do we do a diagonal? Do we peel from a line? Can we have two people on this level and this people on this level and they're doing opposite choreography? And then if you're all together, it still looks like opposite. Like, dance team has made me think of
visuals.
It's not just going to be this one way and that's the way it's going to work out and we're just going to stick with it. And if it doesn't work out that way, I don't have another option. That's the only thing I've thought of. Dance team has made me realize that the more options you have, and the more, like, how many times do we tell poor kid, we've thought of a bunch of things, but like, we kind of got to see them all. Like, we tell the kids, like, okay, one where we move on 2, one where we drop on 4, one where we peel off. And like, I can't make that choice without seeing it visually. So sometimes even before I have the bodies or the vessels in front of me to do choreography, I'm already thinking in my head, okay, how will this look in this formation? How will it look in unison? How will it look if it was opposite? So I think being on dance team and the amount of visuals that are required has helped me like click in and tap into those different parts of my brain when I'm setting choreography for things.
And if a parent came to you now and said, okay, I want my daughter to go to Ohio State dance team, and the child is 6.
Shout out, Melissa.
The kid is 6 years old. And parents, they sometimes
see the vision. They see the vision,
and they live through their kids. At the end of the day, they want their kid to do all these things, and but it takes time to prepare. So in order for a child to be successful in the dance world, to get onto a good dance team, to get onto a good dance team in college, to be able to have some type of dance career, what would you suggest to that parent when that child is 6 years old?
Well, I think the very first thing that I would say is make sure that this whole process you're listening to your kid. Because there can be, I've seen a lot of projection from parents that they see what they want in the kid and they structure and they set everything up. And sometimes kids just go with the flow and they're like, my parents laid out the yellow brick road for me and I'm just going to walk on it and lead myself to, Oz and be happy and have this whole dance career. But I've seen sometimes too, rift and tension between a parent who wants something for the kid and the kid is either afraid to vocalize to them that they don't want it, they vocalized it and they're not heard. So I think first and foremost, it's like having regular conversations with your kids to like check in. Are they still passionate about it? Do they feel forced? Are they overwhelmed? How can we make this more fun? Are you ready to go? Like, where are you feeling? Where's your temperature at? And I think that maybe for somebody starting at like 6-year-old, where that's, again, I applaud you for the vision of already seeing what's going to go on from 18 to 22, but having like a more defined and structured roadmap of maybe where there's checkpoints at different ages where the kid should be growing, what they should be doing. Okay, now you're here. Let's maybe take you to your first master class that's not at your studio. Let's go to a convention that's not in Miami that we have to like fly to and commit a little bit more. I think maybe just like testing the waters and pushing the boundaries a little bit more and more and seeing if your child rises to the occasion or if they're just as passionate about you is a way that you can build it steadily over time. Because if there's another thing I've seen besides parental projection, it's early burnout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Early burnout. Kudos to you if you're a kid that knows right away you want to dance and you choose not to go to a school and you want to be homeschooled and you want to, give 100% to dance as you can. But I've seen a good amount of those kids by 12 or 13 be tapped out, either through injury or through tarnished relationships or through literal
or just not having a social life, not
Yeah,
really
yeah.
being able to socialize and have friends, and because you're so
It's a sacrifice.
busy. And it is a
It's
huge
a sacrifice. And again, if the parent and the kid are aligned with that and they're like, we are making these sacrifices. I've also seen beautiful trajectories and pathways where people knew from a very early age and were able to commit, and, you know, prodigy at 17 years old and doing all the things. And by 22, 23, they're dancing for Janet Jackson and all this stuff. Amazing if you knew that from childhood. But I think what I've seen is like the rush and the excitement and the adrenaline of like the future and trying to do all of that in the present. And if you turn that wheel too fast, you're going to have to change the tire. You're going to have to change the rim. It's just going to blow.
If you don't see your child on Instagram looking at dance stuff or searching up dance things or like wanting to go do more, if they don't want it, they're just doing it because you want it, then there's something that you need to figure out, because
and it moves so fast, so it's hard to tell. That's why I think the transparency and the conversations and the regular check-ins of just seeing how your kids feel, seeing if you're overwhelmed. You know, dance is also very expensive. And if you don't have the funds for it with one kid, let it know you have other kids who are in other extracurricular activities. You have a brother who's in basketball. You have a sister who's in volleyball. You have all these things. It can be expensive. So you also don't want to burn the parent out that you're doing more than you need to so soon and spending all this money, and then your kid is burnt out, and what was it for?
Yeah. And then parents, like, they hover over the kid, and the kid is just like stuck in this bubble and doesn't realize
Trapped.
how what else there is out there in this world. So it's a balance, and you really have to have the conversations. You know, it's when they're little, you're gonna make the decisions for them anyway.
Course.
But as they get older, you need to have the conversations of, okay, what is the next step?
And I think it's also parents taking a step back too, because sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it's parents that want to see the results right away. And sometimes it's parents saying, you know what, you tried this and it didn't work. Let's move you on to the next thing. And sometimes you need to give kids a chance, first of all, to attempt it completely, and also to fail.
Oh, yeah.
And even with things like dance team, within the first few months of dance team, sometimes kids don't have that immediate connection with it. And sometimes they don't love it right away. But then once they go to UDA and once they go to their first competition, then they're like, oh, this is completely different. I understand now. I get it. And most of the time they finish the year saying, I can't imagine not having done this at all. So sometimes you also need to give parents or kids the ability to fail at it a little bit and have the opportunity to try it. And then if at the end they say, it wasn't for me, okay, let's move on to the next.
I always say the more things you try, the more you realize what you want and what you don't want. So if you're just kind of stuck in this, like, this is all I know, the familiar, the comfort zone, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to be wanting to grow and expand. And the more things you try, the more you could say, okay, well, I tried that, and honestly, not for me. Would probably never do that again. Glad I did it. Glad I tried it. But like, now I know I can rule that out. And then you can like focus on the things that actually are more in line with what you want to do.
And as a parent, I think that you need to teach your child to follow through.
Ooh, that was the next thing I was going to say.
You start, commitment? Yes, that commitment. Ooh. Because they might not love what they're doing. But okay, well, you don't love it, that's fine. But you're doing this until the end.
It's a life lesson.
And when it's over, then you just don't do it again next year. But we made the decision of you doing it. You're going to stick through, and you're going to do your best all the way through. I think that when you teach kids, like, oh, you don't like it? It's okay, here, take it off. They're never going to learn. They're never going to grow. It's like, you know, if you make them dinner and they're like, oh, I don't like fish. Okay, well, then you're not eating tonight. Yeah. Like, that's what's for dinner.
It's just not reality. Again, you don't have to, like, you know, traumatize your kids.
No, but
I think it's the lesson of later in life, if you don't like something, you can't always just back out or not do it. So learning that from an early age, that, like, the team is counting on you, the coach is counting on you. You were a part of this to begin with. So figure out how to healthily stay a part of it through the commitment. And then after that, wipe your hands clean and be
when
like,
it's a big deal, you should ask questions before you get into it. So like, if you're going to be part of a dance team, ask the questions. What does this entail? Know what you're getting yourself into, so that your child is doing something they really like. And then you knew what you were getting yourself into. Later on, you didn't like it. Well, okay, don't do it next year. But you signed a contract. You decided you were going to be on this team. People are depending on you. Follow through. And I think that that's an important lesson that our kids need to have nowadays, because things are just so easy for the kids that they don't understand that hard work, and they don't understand
Instant
sometimes
gratification.
Yes. And if they don't have that instant gratification, then they're like, oh, forget it, I don't want it.
And that's life, because after high school, that's it. Kids a lot of times go away to college, and then kids go on to work. And that's not the reality of, you know, if you don't like something, okay, I could just back away. There's going to be so many times where you have a job, in dance or not, where you're not going to love it, and you just have to do it. And you need to teach kids. And that's a lot of what studios and dance teams are trying to teach kids, that independence and that ability to learn, to, you know, try, fail, commit to something, and work through it. And these are skills that we're trying to teach them. At the end of the day, it's not just about dance, it's skills. It teaches you organization, it teaches you independence, and kids need that.
Yeah, check in with your kids, and then when you're older, check in with yourself. Like, no one's saying to do a job that you're going to hate for the rest of your life and be like, well, this is the job I got, so I'm just going to stay here forever and be unhappy. But no, say, you know what? I took this job. I didn't realize that it was going to be so taxing or so draining. So let me give myself 6 months. And if at the end of 6 months it hasn't gotten better, or I don't feel like this is aligned with me, then, you know, I'll do it properly and give it 2 weeks notice and let them know that I'm not going to be working here anymore. But you know, you don't get a catering job the first day and be like, maybe you love it and you want to stay there forever, but you don't be like, wow, this is so overwhelming and so many people I have to serve, I'm not doing this. You give yourself 3 months, 6 months, a month, whatever it is that you feel like you can handle. But yeah, I think it's the like, I can be in and I can be out. That is a little too common in today's society.
Yeah. And nothing worthy is easy. Everything that is worth it in the long run takes time, takes hard work. I mean, everything's just not handed to you.
At the very least, you gain experience.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah. Yes.
That's the takeaway.
And dance is all about networking too, especially if you want to continue. And, you know, you could be on my team and then quit mid-year, but I might know somebody that you're trying to get a job in the industry 10 years later. And they might ask me, oh, so they said that they were a part, they know who you are.
She's a quitter.
Yeah.
Don't burn bridges.
Yeah, don't burn bridges. At the end of the day, you want to do the right thing. And it's not about, you didn't want to come back. Okay, well, I don't want to talk to you anymore. It's about, you need to follow through. And that's being a good teammate, being a good worker. And that's something really important.
Major.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dance world is so, you know, it's big, but it's small. Everybody knows everybody. So you have to be careful with the way that you even present yourself. And I do think, touching on the parents too, sometimes when parents hover too much, it doesn't give kids the opportunity to have that growth in them. So when they're trying to do something later on in life, and really when they're off in college or when they're off in dancing professionally, parents, you're not going to be around.
I've seen them try it. I've seen them try it. Sometimes I'm like, where did you come from? You're supposed to have already left your child's side.
No,
the umbilical cord is cut at this point, but it's just this, you know, subconscious habit sometimes that you want to protect your kid, you want to be there for your kid, and do it in the times that they need it. But then if you don't remove yourself from the situation, you're unfortunately like prohibiting your child from gaining independence and experiences on their own.
And we love a dedicated parent. We love a parent.
We love
a dedicated parent.
Yeah.
We love a dedicated parent. We love a parent that is going to help us. If we say, hey, we need your kid to do this, absolutely, we got it. Or, hey, I need your help rhinestoning, I got it. Like, we love a dedicated parent, but we also like a parent that trusts us and a parent that trusts the process.
Balance.
Yes,
Balance is
absolutely.
so important.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, Dani, for being our amazing guest here today. We really, really enjoyed having you here, learned so much from you. If they want to get in touch with you, what do they need to do?
You can find me best on Instagram at Dani Solano Yo. DM me, interact with me, hit me up. I would love to work with other teams and see where I can give my passions to the process.
Yeah, so much that you can give. You've been amazing for both me and Alexander's teams. Been by my side since day one. So knows all my dancers, has been part of every single competition basically. So I highly, highly recommend if you ever need a second eye that you contact Dani. And for privates to get your kids ready for those dance teams and dance competitions, Dani is fabulous.
She'll be your hero.
So thank you once again for joining us today for our episode of B.A. Showoff, the Dance Lifestyle Podcast.
And we can't wait to see you next time. If you did like what you saw, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube link. And if you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to follow our Instagram and click on our link tree and add on our Google form.
Thank you for showing up today, guys.
We'll see you next time.